Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are having a national holiday after our Muslim brothers and sisters yesterday celebrated Eid al-Adha. I believe that is the name of that holiday. So happy extended holiday to all Kenyans, I think, and especially to our Muslim brothers and sisters. The show is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and as usual, it is a pleasure to have you on board. Just a couple of minutes past 10 a.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. I'll bring us up to date with the latest on our news headlines this morning, and then the panelists will join me, and we shall look at some of the stories that have been featured on the leading newspapers in the country. Today, we start with the Standard newspaper. The main headline, lofty promises whose plan will unlock trillions. Where will the candidates get the money to fund the ambitious projects they're promising Kenyans, with the servicing of debt and salaries taking the bulk of what the country collects? The story is on page 6. Uhuru dreamed big for health, then graft walked in. That is on page 11 on the Standard. Opposition meets amid turmoil in Sri Lanka. In case you don't know what's happening, the president resigned in Sri Lanka over the weekend after, Sri Lankans stormed into the presidential palace and the prime minister's official residence. And, so right now the army is just trying to quell things. But we shall not look at that right now because Dr. Matanga shall bring us the details of that, subsequent shows after we are done with this. Parents' tough choices on new school term. The story is on page 14. And then the roots of Wajackoyah. That is the main headline of Daily Nation. He is the joker in the park with a shadowy past in the special branch and a platform of narcotics and the export of hyena testicles and a dress code that includes durag. His manifesto is full of unreasoned policy proposals and crazy populism. And even the 3-bedroom state house he's building back home stands as a monument to his rich list of contradictions. Okay, that is on page 2 and 3. On the Daily Nation, more pressure for parents as schools reopen for new term. That is on the back page. Uhuru adopts low-key role in Raila campaign. The president is not hitting the trail with a man he proposes should replace him, and that has tongues wagging about his intentions. You'll find that on page 11. Ruto dismisses Raila's demands to IEBC. That is on page 10. And the Standard newspaper, the main headline, Raila Ruto top guns, Jostle for House jobs, positions of Speaker, Majority and Minority leaders and whips would be up for grabs. That is on page 4 and 5, and we do have a few familiar faces there that perhaps are being proposed for those positions in the different alliances. Why snake farming is not such a crazy idea. That is on page 14 and 15. 2 arrested for allegedly killing brother, over 50 Kenya shillings debt in Bungoma. That is on page 3. Showdown looms in Parliament as MPs recalled to debate Huduma bill. That is on page 6. So that is what we have on the newspapers this morning. I am joined from the other side by Kiptanui Savania, all the way from Nakuru, I believe. Kiptanui, thank you so much for finding time to be with us today, and a very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Miriam, Daktari, Douglas, Javan, Wesonga, Gladwell, Punchline Africa TV viewers and panelists. Thank you for having me in this show. I'm coming live to you from Nakuru County. Thank you and good morning.
Okay, good morning to you. And we're also joined by Gladwell Kiragu from Nairobi. Gladwell, good morning to you.
A very good morning to Miriam, coming live from Kiambu County. A very good morning to my fellow correspondents. Good morning to our viewers. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from.
All right, nice to have you too, Gladwell. And we do also have Daniel Wesonga with us this morning. Daniel, good morning to you.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, at our headquarters in Nairobi. Good morning to my sister Gladwell Kiragu, my brother from Kericho, Kitanui Sevania, Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki, Douglas Kirimi Bundi from Meru, and Dr. Masanga David who is coming to us live from the Mombasa headquarters. And of course, our viewers who are watching us this particular morning, it is indeed a pleasure to be on the conversation this particular morning, Miriam.
All right, indeed, because we have so much to unpack this morning. But we're also joined by Javan Karanja, all the way from Nanyuki town. Javan, how are you this morning? And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I'm fine this morning, coming live from Laikipia County, that's Nanyuki town. And I'm happy to see my fellow panelists, Gladwell, Kiptanui, Wesonga, and Dr. David Matsanga joining live from Mombasa. We are happy, and it's a pleasure being on Punchline Africa Television. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, we are waiting when Dr. Matsanga is ready to join us. He will. He's still working on his connection. So once he's ready to join us, I will bring Dr. Matsanga in. So as I said, we have so much to talk about. As we look at the headlines this morning, we'll start with the last story there from the Star newspaper, Showdown looming, that seems to be looming now in Parliament. That story is on page 6. A showdown is looming in Parliament as MPs take a break from their campaigns on Wednesday to debate, among others, the contentious Huduma bill. Deputy President William Ruto's troops have opposed key sections of the proposed law with anchors, which anchors President Uhuru Kenyatta's National Integrated Identity Management System flagship project. The bill is among the business scheduled for the special sitting called by Speaker Justin Muturi, as well as consideration of the bill unlocking conditional grants to counties. The House also set to consider any urgent messages from the President, National Executive, and the Senate also receive statutory instruments such as the newly drafted border laws. Debate on the Huduma bill was not concluded in the last sitting of the National Assembly after Kenya Kwanza, UN bodies and human rights lobbyists flagged grey areas, even as the House convenes to consider the bill in committee and eventually third reading. Hurdles remain in the face of Ruto side, raising constitutionality issues. A key in the contestation, led by Garissa Township Adan Duale, is the fear that the bill could lead to scrapping of Immigration Department. In a petition to Speaker Muturi, the MP argues that the bill gives the Cabinet Secretary for Interior sweeping powers on issuance of the Huduma card, passport and other legal identity documents. The MPs averse that in its current form, persons without Huduma number cards could be locked out of government services that require official identification. So there's a showdown that is looming there in Parliament. I don't know, and just a bit of what Aiden Duale raised there, I think in rejection of the use of Huduma number. I still walk with mine in my wallet. I'm just looking for a day I'll be able to use it. I don't know what you make of this, and what should you expect when Parliament convenes in this special seating. I'll start with you, Kiptanui Savania. And from where you sit, I don't know if you understand what Huduma number is supposed to do, and if at all we still need it as a country.
Thank you, Miriam. As you remember, we used a lot of resources to come up with Huduma number. And Huduma number, you said you have yours in your pocket. Some of us we've never even got it, but we believe that we'll get it very soon. When we were actually taking this Huduma,
you're saying you did not get it because you did not apply for it, or you did not get it because you've applied and you've not received it?
I've applied, but it has not been delivered.
How long ago was that? The time we were doing it, all of us?
Yes, the time we are doing all of us.
Okay.
It has. I'm among those Kenyans who have not been given the Huduma card. So what I was saying, Miriam, is that when we were taking this Huduma, it took our data. So I'm in support for these cards because it contains a lot. It contains our data. Now let us come to immigration services, like now looking for passport. Miriam, if there is something that has been commercialized in this country, is issuance of passports. You see, you apply for your passport, but to get it is another problem. I applied my passport last year, December, on 14. But can you imagine I got recently? It is because many people who are going to Arab countries. There are so many companies there in Nairobi which have people who are going to Arab countries. They are going to Dubai, going to Saudi Arabia for jobs. So there is a lot of corruption in Nyayo House.
So you're saying you applied for your... So hold on, Captain Louis, because what you're saying is very important. So I need to understand, and so maybe somebody somewhere out there is taking notes, because I think it's just an example of perhaps what Kenyans are still going through, and the government may not be aware that this is happening, because the main essence why even the e-citizen platform was created was to ensure there's efficiency in things like delivery of passports and things like that. So if you're saying you applied for your passport in December, when did you receive it?
I received it in June.
In June, that is last month?
Last month, yes, I received it last month.
Okay.
So there is a lot of corruption, Miriam. So what I want to watch our members of parliament is that let them go, let them debate these bills, let them pass these bills, so that when we all of us, we have this Huduma number, it will make everything easy. Miriam, during the issuance of, there are so many people who are not Kenyans in this country who are holding their IDs. Somebody can come all the way from Congo. He comes to this place, anauza kahawa for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
After some time, he's owning an identification card. He is now working. See, there are a lot of corruptions. So let us support these bills. Let us actually support, so that when we our own success. Mm-hmm. If you have an Huduma and it is like an ID, we work with it. Mm-hmm. So let us actually have a platform where we are rooting these corruptions. And there are a lot of corruptions up there. Thank you. I submit. All
right. Yes, you're saying Huduma number will be like your ID, but also I think Huduma number is also more than that, because it has captured all your details. So I think it will be easy, and I think you explained there very well. But Eden Duale is saying that this could lock out some Kenyans who don't have this card from key government services. But I would think the process was halted because of the different legal hurdles it's still facing in court. So I believe, should that be addressed, then this will be a continuous process, the same way you go get your ID card. If you lose it, you go reapply for a new one and things like that. So I don't think this is something that we will be doing as it was done last time. If it passes the legal hurdles, it will be a continuous process. You can go get your Huduma number anytime. So I don't know if the fears that Eden Duale is raising here are founded, Gladwell.
Miriam, I'll start by saying at a point Duale is correct, because when it was declared that people need to have Huduma numbers, the reasons that were given back then, because I remember I was in a queue and an MP came and said that this Huduma number you're being told to apply, he gave a reasons, and I saw so many people buying the reason. And the reason he gave, it was a little bit weird, because he said, how can you have one card that is holding almost all your information? So actually he manipulated the people, and most of the people walked out of the line and didn't take the Huduma card, and actually so many people don't have it. So I think if they're saying that we need now to use it, have to come back again so that...
all right, I'm hearing what you're saying, Gladwell, because also what you say there is very important. So you're saying you were queuing up to take your Huduma card, to register, to get your Huduma card, and then a politician showed up and told people this card will contain all your data, all your important data. But this is something that is happening in all developed countries. If you go, there's a card you produce and it has all your data. You don't have to bring multiple documents. It has, so it's not something new to Kenyans. But why do you think people walked from that line? What was the fear?
Miriam, okay, let me be honest with what the guy said. And him being the area MP, the people don't know, the people believed him at a point, because let me see, 20% of the people walked out because he said the reason as to why you're being told to have your Huduma numbers currently is because they want to have a leak information about the election, how by they're going to have they're going to steal the elections. That is what he said, and that was what he told the people. And 20% of the people walked out because, Miriam, when you're going to apply for an ID, for example, maybe for an NHIF card, you definitely know the reason as to why you're going to apply it. For instance, an ID, you know you currently need it. But for this Huduma number, when we were being told to apply, there was no good reason as to why we are being told to apply. The only reason given was that it is going to ease work, whereby your wallet won't contain
But will that not be good reason enough? Because if really government truly wanted to steal your data and manipulate the voting, they already have your ID and all your data, from your birth certificate, from your birth, certificate and all that, and your ID. So if that was the truth, what the politician was saying, and I know Gladwell, what you're saying, actually a lot of Kenyans believed that, because that is what some politicians were selling. But if the government really wanted to manipulate your data and maybe manipulate the voting and all that, it already has your data anyway. It already has your ID details. So that will not be a big deal, really.
Yeah, Miriam.
No, I'd like Gladwell finish, and then Daniel, you'll come in. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, Miriam, now, I was saying that was the explanation, or maybe that is what he told the people. And I've told you that 20% of the people who were with in the queue didn't actually proceed to go take the Huduma card. They didn't. So, Miriam, Doyle is saying that most of these people will get locked out from having it. It is true, because actually we go around checking the data of how many people have the Huduma card. Actually, 30% of the people in our country, they don't have the card. So I think if they actually make it a compulsory thing for Kenyans to have it, then can they come again? Actually announce that it's now compulsory for Kenyans to have it, so that people can know the importance of it. I agree, Miriam, actually it is true, and it is very good because it will ease work. For example, us women, when Miriam, I tell you to open your pass, you got the NHIF card, your pass is so piled up.
It's a lot.
You have a lot.
The only thing that is still safe in my house is my voter's card, which I will get out and go look for.
But again, Miriam, what I'm trying to say is, can they also tell us what if somebody misplaces the Huduma card, what happens? Because, for example, Miriam, when my pass was stolen with my phone, it had the NHIF card, and I replacing the NHIF card. It is something it's something crazy. I'm still going through. I still don't have it. I'm being sent to go to the main headquarters, and end up on Jeep job, being told something else. I still don't have it. So I think it's something they also need to tell us.
Your NHIF card got lost, and you still don't have it. But I thought NHIF,
I still don't have it.
Those are documents that are quite easy to replace when you go to the offices. Even when you go to the Huduma center, because mine also got lost.
I'm telling you, I've been there,
and I replaced it.
I still don't have it.
I replaced it within a day, actually, my NHIF card. Go to Huduma center. That is the place to go. Maybe things have changed.
Because I've been going. Because let me say things have changed. Because, for example, something like an ID, it's not like, before, back then when somebody lost an ID, it was so easy to replace it. But currently, I don't know what's wrong with the system.
No.
Because
now, Gladwell, I'll have to correct that. Because I lost my ID about 16 years ago. Forgot my pass in the matatu. Don't ask me how. And then I had to go. I had to go replace it, and it was quite a tedious. Process. I had to go to the police station. They don't have the affidavit form. I had to get it, go photocopy it, bring it back. Then from there, I was sent to some other police station for the So it was a whole tedious, and then I had to wait another 3 months, and then I was pickpocketed in town in 2017, just about 2 months to the elections, and I went to the Huduma Center, and all the processes were done there. I did not have to go to a police station. I was given an affidavit there because they do have a police official there, and then the next stage, and I went back for my ID 2 weeks. So right now, the truth is, it's easier to replace your ID than it was back then, and that is the truth.
Yes, Miriam, that's what I'm saying currently. For example, there's something I just lost recently. And what I'm trying to tell you, yes, it is easy. But when you go, for example, to the Huduma Center in Thika, you find that most of their systems are down. So you have to keep on going there, checking, or maybe you have somebody in there who will tell you, no, come. I think the systems are now functioning well. That is the issue currently, Miriam.
The challenge is the systems. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you with that. But if the systems are okay, it is the easiest process. So I'd like to go on to Daniel Osong. I think he's just waiting there with bated breath, and perhaps you'd like to respond to some of the issues that have been raised. Daniel, good morning. You have the floor now.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu. And of course, it is an interesting conversation over Huduma number.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, Miriam, I think as Kenyans, we make a very, very dangerous mistake of electing leaders who have low credentials, leaders who have no any academic credentials, leaders who thrive in politics other than talking about economics and reforms that will elevate the lives of the people of Kenya. It is really, really disheartening for someone like me, who pursued IT from all the way from high school, someone who pursued IT all the way to the university, to hear maybe a leader talking about Huduma number being used to rig an election. And it is quite good that my sister Gladwell Kirago has brought it to fore. It is not only the leader from her backyard who was actually spreading the misinformation. We had people like Musalia Mudavadi, someone who has been in the government long enough to know that this is something, this is the era of IT, and everything around the world is now rotating about information technology, whereby, there's no need of you walking around with a number of numerous cards in your wallet that actually makes it puffed up, because you have to have an NHIF card, you have to have an NSSF card, you have to have your ATM, you need to have your national ID, and you need to have your voter's card, all in hard copy. This is not the era that we should be heading our country into, because when you go to countries like Britain, when you go to countries like Finland, when you go to countries like Netherlands, even Ukraine, even the US, you realize that they have harnessed all these data together. They have synchronized it in that, Miriam, just by having a single number. Once they key it into the system, it is able to bring all the details the government needs to know about you. If the government was to even disperse money, it doesn't have to come to tell you again to register so that the money is sent to you. If we had the system that we are calling the Huduma number today perfectly working in Kenya, IBC wouldn't be spending a lot of money to register people as voters, or neither maybe would we spend a lot of money, having people maybe going for to register for NHIF. We would simply just key in numbers and know this is the number of people who are eligible to vote. These are the number of people who may be voting in a certain number, a certain polling station. These are number of people who are actually maybe beneficiaries of NHIF and NSSF, and therefore it makes work easier. The good thing, the magic around the ICT and the today's world, the EE generation, is that, Miriam, it makes things easier. Even today, if you go to the film industry, you find out that a job like maybe filming in the sky, which was taken up maybe by even more than 10 people, 15 people, and a helicopter, which was consuming a lot of money, in terms of budgeting and all that, is actually now being taken care of by a simple drone, which is barely maybe $1,000 in its market price, So that tells you that people are moving away from the extravagance of the physical and the analog system, of doing things, and people are moving into a technological era that makes everything easier. So therefore, it is just the pessimism of some leaders who like to bring politics even where there is no politics, in order to derail the government agenda, who are moving ahead to say that this was a scheme to actually rig an election. And Miriam, like you say, if the government wanted to use our personal information to rig an election, they will go, because the government, as it is, Miriam, has even access to your banking information. It has even access to the most private information you have, because today I believe if government was to even dig up and be able to get my personal accounts, passwords, and everything, they have the capacity to do so. So these hogwash about maybe votes being stolen, and it is a very, very sad narrative which is being driven by William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza Brigade. It was it was started by these kind of individuals, Aiden Duale, William Ruto, and unfortunately Musalia Mudavadi, who at one instance was a guest of honor for Huduma number registration, I think in a station in Dagoretti. So Miriam, I think this kind of ignorance should be done away with. You remember when we had, for the first time, we brought the BVR kits for registration of voters to make our elections free and fair and credible, so that we do not have instances where people actually vote twice, thrice, and more. People actually started a propaganda in Western Kenya that when you put your fingers on these BVR kits, it could actually interfere with your fertility as a man, and you could not even be able to bear kids. The same thing happens
and why is it? When you hear such rumors, it's always the men who are affected. I can't even. Okay.
And even with the COVID vaccination, Miriam, how will the World Health Organization, how will maybe countries like the US and other philanthropists, pump billions of dollars into a vaccine that will actually be able to maybe even kill a life of a man in Homa Bay, someone who is not even so much important in society? If government wanted to control a population through maybe birth control, maybe infusing it into COVID vaccine, then why wouldn't they even just put it in something like unga that we buy with our own money, so that once you eat that unga, you are controlled, you cannot bear kids? So I think this kind of heathen propaganda and misinformation is what is actually derailing our country. And I happen to share this information about Huduma number with one of my friends, my good friends, who is an actuary here in town. And whatever he told me, this was a very, very ingenious idea. It was actually a very, very, modern way of actually harnessing and synchronizing our data in a way that we are able to keep track of everything that is happening across the country. And let me tell you, Miriam, even with the Huduma number, we will be able to look and be able to control the security situation of this country. In that, if you've ever been convicted, together with whatever President Uhuru, the laboratory, the forensic laboratory that President Uhuru launched the other day, it would have been quite effective to even keep track of crimes and just ensure that our country is secure. In that, if you've ever been convicted, if you've ever been involved in any kind of offense, then they could just identify you with your Huduma number, and together with the results of the forensic laboratory, we know this one was convicted for maybe a felony, and this is the evidence that was linked to this particular case. And therefore, it makes life easier. That is why the US is ahead of us. That is why the UK is ahead of us. That is why some countries in the Middle East, like Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia, are actually overtaking us, whereas we were ahead of them during the time of independence. Because these are countries which have accepted to align themselves with the change of times. These are countries that have embraced technology, and they're looking at what the countries that are ahead of them are doing better to improve the welfare and actually the technological atmosphere of their country. So we cannot be stuck back into the past simply because we have a few ignorant cabal of leaders who still believe that anything the government does is against their own personal ambitions, Miriam. So therefore, all said and done, I believe this was a noble idea which needs to be supported. And how I wish when MPs go back to the parliament to debate this about this Huduma bill, they will be able to give it a green light. And I beseech our courts also to give it a green light so that we are able to emancipate Kenyans from the burden of walking around with countless documents, in that when you go somewhere, they are asking you, even when you are seeking for employment, you are asked for this card, then another one, and before you realize maybe you have misplaced another. Why can't we just have one single card with a single number, whereby even if an employer or even a police officer stops you at a road traffic, then all you need to do is just give him a number, key in, and they'll be able to check all your records. This is the same way, Miriam. Even during the pre-colonial, colonial period, Kenyans were actually required to walk with a very, very heavy wooden card, wooden piece of wood written, their names written on it, called kipande. If we were not maybe conversant, if we were not, Miriam, ready to change our system, today we will still be walking with a kipande on our necks. And that is the era that we want to move from when we talk about Huduma number. Therefore, let us embrace this idea. It is a good idea. It goes hand in hand with the current technological world, and we should not be left behind as the rest of the world goes digital, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So, of course, in a petition to Speaker Muturi, the MP, Aden Duale, argues that the bill gives the Cabinet Secretary for Interior sweeping powers on issuance of the Huduma card, passport, and other legal identity documents. So, Duale was saying as though the Ministry of Interior now, maybe it is overstepping into the Immigration Department. But when you look at the history of this country and the current new threats that you have to deal with, even as far as terrorism is concerned, there are people who have made it inside this country as terrorists and caused a lot of harm to Kenyans who have been able to, through corruption, acquire an ID, and many others who live in this country who have been able to acquire an ID because I guess it's easier. So perhaps, do you think that could have advised why it will be the people who are crafting this Huduma number found perhaps it's important if it is the details of that is also integrated together with maybe the part that the Interior Ministry will be playing because of matters of national security. And I think that is a question that Kiptanui raised in the beginning of this conversation. So perhaps will that help? And why do you think Duale is specifically pointing at such an issue, Ajivan?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam, for that good question. And I would like to agree with what my brother Daniel has said. And it's very clear that these politicians, especially the one who support the deputy president, are using this Huduma issue for their own political good, but not for the bigger picture and the welfare of all Kenyans. That is why they are really pushing to see the cripple of this bill, and to see that it doesn't see the light of the day. And that is very unfortunate for leaders to behave in that manner. Number two, the Huduma number, the intentions of bringing this Huduma number was to ensure that Kenyans can have easy access to the information, and they can carry on their documents in one piece of an ID, which is a bit easy, and it is also very easy for storage. But the problem that maybe arises, we have seen people even misusing the ID that we have. We have seen people taking our data, going there to use and even commit crime activities, and that at the end of the day affects some innocent Kenyans who didn't know that their ID was being used. Recently, we are seeing people using our identification numbers to go to these loan lenders. They get some loans, and they use our IDs without our consent, and we find ourselves being indebted to this lending institution. I think what should be done, the Huduma card should be more, should be added more features that will make it hard for the criminals to use this document or to use our numbers without our consent. Because you have seen Kenyans cry of their IDs, and we have even seen the criminal, the criminal or the terrorists using fake IDs to commit the activities. That means it is easier to access the national identification card that we are currently using. But if the Huduma number, and from where I sit, I understand that the Huduma number will be more hard to use, and even to make one, it will be quite a tiresome process, because you'll have to know all the details of that person, which is a bit hard for these criminals, because you need to have to know the ID, the NSSF, and all other government identification that they have. Therefore, I think the Huduma number will go hand in hand in ensuring that we fight terrorism in this country. Because when you look at the most crimes committed in this country, we end up having fake people not using their own original identity, being, even when the investigations authority are giving the public notice that there are criminals who need to be taken to courts. It it becomes difficult to get these criminals. But with the Huduma number, I think even by a mention of their numbers or their name, it will be easy to get them. I think Eden Duale is missing a point there. But for me and from where I sit, I think Huduma number is something that we need to embrace as Kenyans, is something that our leaders need to give support and to see that this bill goes through, because it's a very, very important bill at this juncture, because we are at the technological era and a lot has evolved. Because before even where we are today, a lot has changed in terms of technology. Therefore, we should not be left behind when it comes to these matters of technological evolution. Number two, number three, and finally, the misconception that has been created by politicians that this number will be used by government to access our data, to access our personal information without our consent, and to interfere, to infringe our confidentiality. That is not the case, because if the government wanted to use our data without our consent, they could have done so. But there are laws, there are acts, that the Data Protection Acts that protect our data from being misused. That is why Safaricom cannot use our data, cannot give out our data anyhowly, because we are protected by those Data Protection Acts. Therefore, these politicians are just using these misconceptions, conspiracies to deceive Kenyans. But at the end of the day, it should be made mandatory. Everyone should have this number, and government should not relent. It should move swiftly, effectively, and ensure that it implements this law if it goes through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think for the entities that went to challenge this Huduma number, issuance, they had raised key issues with this, and one of them is what you're talking about now, Jevan Karanja, the data protection. And so then the ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru last year, in 2020, gazetted the Data Protection Civil Registration Regulations 2020 that restrict access to personal data. So somebody can't just access your personal data like that. And on registration of births, adoptions, persons, issuance of passports, and registration of marriage and death. So not anybody can access those personal data. Not anybody can access that. So that was addressed. And also, I think one of our viewers here, I see a question before I bring in. I know Douglas is there. Ogebe, Omot, Ochan, and the rest of you who are watching, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. You're asking, what about non-Kenyans who got Huduma number? What is the work for it? So under the rules, Kenyans eligible foreigners and refugees will be issued with their cards within 30 days after they are assigned the unique Huduma number. So Kenyans, eligible foreigners and refugees. Okay, so I think if you're a foreigner and you're coming to work in this country and you're staying longer in this country, that is when you're eligible to be issued, because if you'll be seeking to get any government services, you must have the Huduma number. So I think it depends on your stay in the country and if at all you'll be seeking for any government services in Kenya. But if you're just coming as a tourist to visit and live, I don't think there will be a need for Huduma number. And I see Doctor has joined us. But I'd like Douglas to talk, and then Doctor will end. We'll take it all to Doctor to end it for us. Douglas Kirib, I know you've been waiting. Your thoughts on this?
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, Dr. David Matanga, and my co-panelists and our friends across the world. Miriam, my take is, if Eden Duale has a problem with the government integrating the Ministry of Interior with the whole issue of Huduma number, Miriam, I see the mischief, I see the deceit, I see also the lies that they have peddled before, that they continue protecting terrorists even from parliament, and that's how these people have made a lot of money and nobody is talking about it. They have been hiding behind parliament so that they can continue protecting terrorists in this country and to make sure that every law that prohibits terrorists from accessing our territory stifled and also stopped at parliament. And I think that was also some of his assignment as the leader of majority in the National Assembly. And that's why Eden Duale doesn't want to talk to the people of Kenya and tell the people the truth that the Minister of Interior is the only government institution that can be able to verify within a very short time the identity of a person, the location of that person, the sublocation of where they come from, and every other detail that they need to be able to access the Huduma number or the national identification number. If, for example, the Ministry of Interior is given the responsibility of verifying within 2 weeks or within 1 week, they can do that job within a week, within a day. They can call a local district officer, that local district officer will call a local chief, the local chief will contact the area managers and all that, and we can be able to verify that Kiptanui Xavier from Nakuru or from Nandi County is actually from Kapsoa or Kabanet or any other place in this country. And Eden Duale doesn't want that because human trafficking and also terrorism are big business, especially from the northern frontier of this country, where illegal immigrants get into the country, terrorists gain access to our country, and they continue being protected by these people. He is the same man that said that he has a list of terrorists that he needs to be able to hand over to the government of Kenya. He has not done so many years later, Miriam. This is the same man who is in contact with Mogadishu, Saudi Arabia, and other countries, and Syria, where the sister is actually, I think, the deputy speaker of that of the parliamentary group, I think, in Syria. We need to also tell Eden Duale the truth that the Minister of Interior is the only competent institution that can be integrated in the rollout of this plan. And there is no way you can actually claim that the Minister of Interior has been given sweeping powers, Miriam Ogutu, to go out there and roll out Huduma number, whereas you don't want to tell us that your business has been affected. These are people who have been lying to the people of Kenya, that they want to protect us and protect the integrity and sovereignty of our own constitution, whereas they have been selling us they've been selling us to our opponents and also people who don't like this country. Terrorism in this country and human trafficking is a big business, Miriam, and they know that their business has been affected. And at the end of the day, Miriam, there is no way you can tell us that you do not want Minister of Interior, or you do not wish the Minister of Interior to be in charge of this rollout of this program. Does he want the Minister of Tourism to be in charge of the same? Does he want the Ministry of Forestry and
no, he wants the
Minister of Mining to be in charge
Immigration Department.
The rollout of Huduma number, Miriam. Because
not
at the end
forestry,
of the day, Eden Duale, yes, Miriam.
He wants the Immigration Department, sio huko kwa forestry.
Miriam, at the end of the day, Minister of Immigration and the Interior, if any of them is given the responsibility, that's okay. But also, Miriam, it makes more sense for the Ministry of Interior to be in charge of rollout of Huduma number, because, Miriam, number one, this is the same ministry that knows every other person, that has a data, that has a profile of every person. If they do not have, Miriam, they can access it in real time, and we can save a lot of time. And remember, Miriam, there was a time we had a minister in this country, Minister for Immigration, Otieno Kajwang, when he was the Minister for Immigration. There were so many illegal immigrants who got into our country. They bought IDs and all that. They have bought permanent residence in our country. Miriam, corruption is something that we should be able to deal with and deal with it decisively. So at the end of the day, Miriam, I also think that the framers or the drafters of that plan, or who want to get this country forward by getting the Minister of Interior to get into work and also bring everything to the fore so that the people of Kenya can benefit, are not isolated. They have not isolated anything that could have been of benefit to the Republic of Kenya. Remember, the Minister of Immigration was given such a responsibility, and when they were given that responsibility, Miriam, it was bangled. We don't want anything bangled, especially on the access of Huduma number. Remember, Huduma number encompasses every other detail or every other documentation that you would want to have. It will have an assortment of documents in it, Miriam. Mm-hmm. And then there's a person who is also making noise out there, and they don't want to tell us they are protecting terrorist, Miriam, and human traffickers, cartels in this country, Miriam.
Okay.
I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And of course, there's a statistic that Gladwell shared there earlier, and according to her, only about 30% of Kenyans registered for Huduma number. Well, Gladwell, you know, I went seeking for the facts, and in 2020, Kenya's population was at 53.77 million. I think that has grown now to 55. But during that time, because, you know, the process was halted by the courts, but during that time, we were at 53.7 million people. And the Kenyans who had registered so far was 38 million. So that is way above the average. So I just needed to correct that. Right now we are joined by Dr. David Matsanga. Doc, a very good morning to you. And I'm sure you've been listening to our conversation this morning. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Yes.
All right. Good morning.
I have been listening from Gladwell, Kiptanui, Douglas, Kirimi, Daniel, and Javan Karanja. First of all, good morning.
Good morning to you, Doc.
Just don't make too much noise. Just tell them in November, after November 30th, you will only remain in your village if you don't have a blue East African certificate, passport. Don't think of going with that other Kenyan thing, passport, that you will fly to where? With effect from 1st January 2023, immigration officers at the Heathrow Airport in London or other international airports want to see one identity. This is coming. You know, this is coming. All the reasons that you have been giving now, people, you know, having international exposure and the national exposure is very important. You know things, and you know things inside and outside. You will not, Duale will not be able even to go to Dubai. Nobody wants to see your big passport. People, machines are changing. We used to have typewriters. We now have these things. You see where we are? Things are changing. And I agree with all of you. The only person who does not want his identity details given is a thief. Is a thief, is a rogue, is a dangerous person, is a pedophile, is a rapist, is a neck breaker, the one who breaks people's necks like a Ruto. Those are the people who disagree with data. But me, Matanga, you want my data, I give it to you. I've given. Do you not look at my eyes? Look at this. My data is here. Today, let me tell you, the only airport that I produce my identity card, my passport, they are in Africa. But if you travel with Dr. Matanga and we reach Heathrow Airport, my passport is already seen in my eyes. This, have you seen them? Is here. The data is here. As people feared in London, people feared. Oh, I said put it here. So put it here. Have you seen, Miriam? For security, for my own security, you cannot go and kill somebody somewhere and say Matanga. My eyes will be done. The side cameras, there are cameras now like in UK, where they will find this data was available here. This guy was here. So my ID, my passport, my details are here. I'm sorry to tell you today. When I reach the airport, I only go to the immigration officer. There is a machine has sensed my arrival. The questions they ask me, Miriam, are simple. Where have you been? How long have you been away? Thank you very much.
Okay, we're having a bit of a technical hitch there, Doc, from your side. I don't know if you can hear me.
Thank you. Next. These things are coming. We are having a problem. But today the topics are
the audio is okay. Don't touch it. The audio is fine. It's just the. But now now we can see you properly. Go ahead.
Let me tell you, Miriam. It is now the change is coming. The revolution is coming. The revolution of either you go with it or you don't go with it. What that the NGOs that went to court, they might not soon go to London because if they don't have that data, they might not be given even money to come and do NGO work to oppose in the court. How do you go to get money from the people who have the Huduma card? Then you come and oppose the Huduma people. You oppose the Huduma, yet the people who gave you the funding, that Miriam and the panel, who gave you the funding are already even, some have even have ID on eyes for scrutiny, proper scrutiny. Because why when the chance came for the iris, this one for the ID, people in Britain, if you are illegally in Britain, then you can run away and you don't go for this passport here. But if you are physically there, right, you have everything to be there. Why do you fear? It is better my ID is here so that you don't say I was there when I was not there. You will not take my card, credit card, and forge. Have you seen of late? Even medium cards. I am now telling you, those who are rejecting, who might reject the bill, or who don't want to do my card, credit card or debit card, there's no longer PIN number. The PIN number is in your face. The PIN number is, you know what you do in the medium, what they are doing? Oh my God, what can I explain with? Look, like this. You go to a shop in London. Here in Nairobi, we are still pushing you that weka credit card. No.
Hiyo yako ni credit ama ni debit? All right. Doc's connection there is troublesome this morning.
Mine is debit. I am still here. Now you hear me?
Yes. The audio is fine. It's the video that is hanging.
Mine is debit. Okay. I will switch off.
No, don't touch the audio. When you touch it, it's noisy. When you touch it, it's noisy. The audio is fine. Yes, just leave it. It's fine. It's fine like that. It's just the video that is a problem.
My card is a debit card.
Okay.
When I don't have credit in London and I don't want it, I spend what I have. If it is not there, we come back. If I don't call you, it means you call me, but don't expect me to call you. Those are regulations with Songa knows. And Javan and Douglas now know, and Kiptanui and No. If my airtime is finished, until I replace it, I am not these people who have high, that give me the bill at the end of the month. Hakuna bill inakuja kwa mlango wangu yangu. Like these things of free using, and don't get used to them. They are very bad. They are very bad. A credit card is the most dangerous thing.
We have our own version here, Doc. It's called Fuliza, and it is in other fashions.
Oh no!
I hear.
Oh no! Oh no! Now you can hear me properly.
Yes.
Miriam, you can hear me properly.
Yes, we can.
Old fashion, let it even under Kirimi, under Javan, but learn my method and gradual, you will live longer. If you don't have airtime, then you don't talk. Work and get it, then put on, then talk. Hii mambo ya kuenda Safaricom unaanza kubeba mabiru zikuje kwa mlango, I am not a party to it. There is no bill. Electricity mean I pay as you go. Gas, pay as you go. Water, pay as you go. Even if there is drinking, I am dying of thirst and the water is not in the house. I'll wait until this one before we close down. I know Gladwell. Let me ask you a cardinal question. Do you rely on a Safaricom utaleta bill? Wewe watavumia, watakufunga bure. Just have your 200 shillings, lipa, uzungumize. Kama imeisha, keep quiet in your house. In fact, you cut back gossip. Hakuna gossip. What do you think, my dear sister?
Very true, yeah.
And Douglas Kirimi, what do you think? Javani Karanja?
Yes, Dr. David Matsanga, you are very right on that.
Daniel Wesonga?
Absolutely correct, Dr. Matsanga.
Tanui, what do you think?
It is true. You are correct. You are correct.
And Douglas, we are coming to you. Douglas, don't hide. What do you think?
You are right, Dr. David.
What's your opinion on that? Yes.
You are right 100%.
Why do you press yourself? Now let's come to Miriam. What do you think?
I don't like debt, so anything that could get me into debt, even at 10 shillings debt, I don't do that.
Thank you. That's it. And learn it that way. Learn it that way. Because you will cut them. There are so many things. So all these MPs refusing, these MPs refusing, they wako na madeni, wanagopa, mtu atakutafuta. You had forgotten one point, wako na madeni. Because now when you have the Huduma number, it will show how many passports you have.
Yes, and also, Doc, just an example of, I don't know if you heard what Daniel said. He was explaining the process even to where we got ourselves now with the IDs that we have now, comparing to what we had from independence. We have to, the only thing that is constant is change. We have to keep changing and being in tandem with the times. We can't have the same, yes. And when you see, like today I'm seeing in the papers, KRA has superseded its the tax target that it had by 148.9 billion Kenya shillings. And that is because KRA has employed the use of technology. We have to adjust. So right now, if you go to get a new bank account, you have to give your KRA PIN. So you can't lie, the way Kenyans sometimes used to lie and things like that. So we have to employ the use of technology and where the world is heading for us to be able to be efficient. And now we can see that being a very good example of how KRA has made over 148.9 billion Kenya shillings, in excess of what it had targeted. So even with Huduma number, I think, Doc, as you've said, we don't have a choice. Sooner or later, we must adjust and keep moving forward and adapt to the changing world of technology. It is here with us, and we don't have any other choice.
Exactly. I didn't know that I would be here using a computer. Mm-hmm. In 1989, when I was typing my exams, final, I was using Mr. Brother, and so on. I've kept it in my house. I've kept it as a memory. And it was to get it to be seen with that brother in the library. Your fellow students will say, Allah, this guy is very, it was costing, by then it was costing 55 pounds in Britain. 55 pounds. And I bought it about 55 for books, stationery. I bought it 55 pounds. It was very expensive commodity. You could not leave it. The one thing that you could guard is that typewriter, so that no thief can take it. And then it was electric. Then there were some that were manual. But the things now moved. And don't forget, in Kenya, we still have a problem. When we wanted to move to digital from monologue, is it monologue or to what is it called?
From analog to digital. Mm-hmm.
Analog to digital.
It was a struggle, but we did it. Mm-hmm.
The same people refused. Even the Citizen TV refused. Matiang'i closed them. Now, there is no a Ministry of Internal.
Mm-hmm. We have completely lost you there. You're being told that your connection is not the best.
The Ministry of Security will leave you there. So come back on audio. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's try that.
The Ministry of Internal Security cannot
okay. Even the audio is not good. Doc, we cannot.
Whoever you want to bring from the north have appeared. So that's the way thing. So I support the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
I supported the entire process. I want to thank you very much that the Huduma number for us, I filled my number, and I'm told I was given a note come out. So I am also going to get, if I want to go to access the hospital. But the dualists are running away because medium wamegonga watu huko na huko. They don't want. Some of them have even 5. find that Duale has another one, American, Nicaragua, where they have them. So all this information now in the future, you can't travel if you haven't declared the end of the passport. So that is also one reason. The second reason why people fear the Huduma number is debts. You'll be located easily. You won't be hammering people's money and you disappear. That is all I can say for now. I don't know whether I'm still there or not.
Yes, you're still there. The
So thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still a challenge, but we can at least hear you. All right, so you've hung again. Okay, so we thank you so much. So we'll take a very short break, then we'll come back with our next show. This has been Africa. Thank you so much for your time. Don't go too far. Shall be back with the rest of the
Thank you very
panelists.
much. That is all I can say.